Now, there still might be one game left to play in Game Week 16, but I've asked my FPL experts for their top picks for the next game week to get you in the best position and let you know which players you should be looking to target and pick up in Game Week 17. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as we're trying to hit 11,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it is only possible with your guys' amazing support, and we're edging closer every single day to achieving that goal. So it would be absolutely amazing to end 2024 on a bang. First off, let's talk about Kouna and obviously the replacements that are going to potentially be going with him as well. It does look like he could be banned for the next game. Now, that hasn't been confirmed yet. Ideally, for the people that own Kouna, we get that Game Week 17 fixture against Leicester. Then, obviously, we look to sell him against Manchester United, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest and Newcastle. Ideally, that would be the point we hop off him and we get that Leicester game, but it is looking likely that he will be banned, of course, for Game Week 17. He put his hand, if you didn't know, on a Ipswich coach's face and knocked his glasses off. Now, some people are saying that the FA are looking into this. Other people don't know. We're still waiting for, of course, official confirmation. However, some of my experts have been recommending some striker replacements. So let's take a look at some of these players. And the two that were kind of mostly recommended. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson was in there as well, but I feel like we spoke about him quite a lot recently, and it is going to be Alexander Isak and Chris Wood. Alexander Isak, of course, is, I would say, the most popular pick going forward into this game week with Ipswich away up next. The following fixtures are a little bit more difficult on paper. However, I do feel like these defences so far this season have looked a little bit frail and not at the same levels we are usually kind of seeing from these sides anyway. Villa at home, again, could be one of those games. I think just because it's a home fixture for Newcastle at St James's Park, I probably would have to back Alexander Isak in that one. Manchester United away, as we saw today, they're still having some frailties. They still don't look like an absolutely amazing world-beating side, so I still fancy him, and he's in the form of his life at the moment. Again, he's getting back into that form that we saw so much from him last season as well. His last 5 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists, plenty of shots in the box, plenty of good underlying data. Callum Wilson out for 2 to 3 months as well. I am a big fan of this move if you are obviously looking at going and picking up Alexander Isak as a Kouna replacement, of course, if he is suspended for the next game. The other one is going to be Chris Wood. Brentford, Tottenham and Everton. It's not a bad run of fixtures, and obviously Chris Wood this season has been pretty prolific. He's been very, very good. However, the only caveat I would say with this one, and why I'm not as keen as probably picking up an Isak or a Jackson, would be the fact that Nottingham Forest on an overly attacking side. If we look at the 11-5 kind of projected goals model that we obviously cover every single week in the transfer targets video, Nottingham Forest aren't quite high up on those predictions, and obviously with 2 of those fixtures being away from home as well, I feel even less confident potentially maybe backing Chris Wood and agreeing with my FPL experts on this one. Brentford away is a really, really difficult place to go this season. I do think Forest will score and maybe Chris Wood will get something out of that one. Tottenham defensively have left a lot to be desired this season again, so again could maybe get something out of that one. But Everton are pretty resolute, especially at home, especially at Goodison. Obviously they've got Branthwaite and Tarkowski back now. It's a pretty solid setup. We saw that at Arsenal this weekend as well. They're a really, really well put together Sean Dyche unit, and when they are ticking and have all the players fit and available, they are one of the meanest and hardest defences to go and break down in the league. So I think as a free, if I have pretty much unlimited budget this week, I would probably lean in more towards an Alexander Isak. Now, of course, there are going to be comparisons between Alexander Isak and Nicholas Jackson, and I think if I was to pick between the two right now, I still probably would be slightly leaning more towards Alexander Isak, but Jackson is an absolutely fantastic pick, and I'm trying to find a way to get him into my side for this game week. The run of fixtures that him and Chelsea have is absolutely stupendous. Obviously, a lot of my experts were still kind of considering Jackson, but a lot already own him, so they obviously weren't as kind of keen in recommending him, so they selected Alexander Isak and Chris Wood as potential striker options you guys should be looking at for this game week. Like I said, I'm all fan for Alexander Isak. Chris Wood, I'm a little bit more sceptical, and I think if this was between Isak and Jackson, probably both would be getting my seal of approval right now. Let's move on then. Speaking of players suspended, 8 Nuri, head loss at the end of the Wolves game, very similar to Mateus Kouna. We're all going to be in the market for a replacement defender over the next few weeks. Obviously, if you're not looking to bring him out this week, you can obviously bench him and get away with it. Or, of course, if you are looking to, of course, get rid of him this week, then these for me, I covered 4 of these pretty much. The only one that's missing is Munoz in the FPL transfers video yesterday. So, yeah, all my experts kind of in agreement with this one. Kirkes, Hall, Colwell and Robinson, all very, very highly recommended. Obviously, Kirkes yet to play in game week 16. So, of course, do just make sure that he does make it through that game on Monday night. I would argue that probably on this list, Bournemouth have got this second worst fixture run. Obviously, probably Fulham top that with Chelsea away in game week 18. But other than that, him and Bournemouth have been very, very solid this season. As you can see on here, the joint second most goal involvements as well. And Bournemouth, as you can see on here, third for XG conceded, which is absolutely marvellous for a side like Bournemouth. Absolutely smashing it so far this season. Lewis Hall obviously picked up 2 assists, a clean sheet against Leicester. We saw as well with the Alexander Isak fixtures, they're all a little bit difficult with Villa and Manchester United. Probably not the best fixtures to have for a defender, but that Ipswich one is looking very, very succulent, and he is a really, really attacking player this season. As you can see, the best expected goal involvement per 90 on this list, so I am very much a big fan of this move for Lewis Hall. Levi Colwell, I think Chelsea over the past few weeks have probably been really unfortunate not to keep clean sheets. A late goal against Brentford today. Of course, they missed out against Leicester with a last kind of minute penalty as well. So realistically there, you could have had probably 12 points out of Levi Colwell. And, you know, his points tally and obviously his position in terms of the overall score in defenders would have been a lot higher. But the fixtures do continue for Chelsea over the next few weeks. Everton and Ipswich, the real standouts there for me. I think Fulham are in quite a difficult side to play this season, and definitely one that I think maybe people are overestimating when they see them as a green. So that one's probably going to be a little bit more difficult. But from a defensive perspective, Ipswich and Everton are pretty niche going forward in terms of their goal kind of threat, especially Everton as well. We saw that against Arsenal. They don't really offer too much and haven't really offered too much anyway. So I think that one should be a pretty much banker of a clean sheet for Levi Colwell, or at least I hope if I was to, you know, potentially go and bank on him for this upcoming game week as well. So yeah, the fixtures as well with Chelsea. The other bonus of this one is you could probably hold Levi Colwell to the end of the season. Genuinely, that's how good the fixtures are. Of course, there's a few bad ones occasionally thrown in there, but if you've obviously got other cheap defenders to rotate around the more difficult fixtures, then fair enough, go for it. But the way that defenders have been scoring this season, even playing them in the big games, doesn't seem like the worst idea. And someone that proved that this week, of course, was Robinson as well. Southampton up next after an absolutely abysmal performance today against Tottenham Hotspur. 6 goal involvements this season, which is an absolute joke. Again, very, very attacking. Could have even had even more this season. There's been a few times I've counted and watched Fulham games where, of course, he's been involved and the other players on the end of the cross haven't quite met it. Obviously, the example that pulls to mind is, of course, that Raul Jimenez one that hit the bar. So again, I think for me, if you're going to be bringing in any of these assets, I think all are very, very viable options as obviously 8 Nuri replacements. My top one right now probably would be Robinson. Second probably would be Levi Colwell. Then I think it's a 50-50 split, whichever way you go with Hall and Kirkes. All of them, though, whatever option I think you pick here, I think my FPL experts have hit the nails on the head with the cheap defenders. However, I would say if you could maybe hold out for one game week and bench 8 Nuri and obviously look to other replacements, Munoz will be back from his suspension. And again, he looked really, really good for Crystal Palace. They don't have the best XG conceded so far this season. They've been kind of towards that mid-ish table, kind of in terms of that table, but his attacking threat is absolutely ridiculous and his underlying data would be anybody else on this list. Unfortunately, though, he is suspended for game week 17, so if you did need a replacement, he wouldn't, of course, be fit and available. But I'm in full agreement with my FPL experts on this one. I think Kirkes, Hall and Colwell and Robinson would all be stellar picks to go and get for 8 Nuri in in game week 17. Finishing up then, let's take a look at cheap midfielders, and two that were recommended, of course, was Ahmed after his absolutely incredible performance for Manchester United today in the Manchester derby, and Alex Iwobi, again one of the most popular transfers in this week with good Fulham fixtures on the horizon. Of course, that Southampton at home fixture looking very, very appetising, of course, after the demolished job that Spurs did. But let's first off start with Ahmed, and I've been really, really impressed with this guy. Massively passing the eye test, especially today, looked really, really good. Manchester United's best player. And you look over those next three and you go, yeah, I could see maybe United doing quite well over that period. However, it is Manchester United, and they still didn't look great as an overall unit today, which is a real, real worry. And I think when you are bringing players in, you at least want the team to look like they function. And I don't get that vibe from Manchester United. I still think they need to bring in some players, get more games under Almiron, figure out what system works best for these players. But one of the shining lights in this poor side has been Ahmed, and the fixtures are taking a little bit of an uplift over the next few weeks. But for me personally, I think I would rather have probably Iwobi or Enzo, who are playing in much more functional sides that are going to create plenty more opportunities going forward, rather than going for Ahmed right now. And that's not to say Ahmed's not a bad player. I'm not doubting that. I think he's in probably, it is the best form of his career. There's no getting around that. Like 1 goal, 5 assists, but the data, as you can see there, bit niche. It is a bit niche. And obviously when Manchester United aren't creating too many chances as an overall side and haven't looked great going forward, and with the 11-5 model as well over the next few weeks not really pumping them up as one of the best teams for projected goals, I am looking at it and thinking maybe a little bit sceptical. However, with his cheap price point, I think that brings him back into kind of contention. Obviously, we're not paying like 6+ million for this guy. He is very, very much a cheap option at 5.1 million. So I think if he's going to be bench fodder that rotates in for the decent fixtures, why not? United have got to play some of the bottom feeders over the next few weeks, so why not maybe take a little bit of a gamble on this young man? He seems like a kind of a shining star in a pretty disappointing season for Manchester United, so maybe it is time to take a little bit of a gamble on him. Of course, Iwobi, again, probably very similar situation to Ahmad in the fact that he's in pretty good form at the moment, arguably some of the best form he's probably shown throughout his entire career. Fulham, though, I would say look a lot more cohesive, a lot more better attacking unit as well going forward. So I probably would say with Southampton and Bournemouth both being at home in the next few weeks, I would really fancy maybe taking a little bit of a gamble on somebody like Alex Iwobi. Of course, though, I think for me, the top pick would have to be Enzo Fernandez. Another assist for me today. And yeah, within that cheap price bracket of midfielders that we do have emerging, I probably would say that Enzo does top the list. Again, that is purely down to the fact of his price, the way that Chelsea are playing, very, very attacking, his position, and of course, looking at that fixture run coming up. You could leave him again. It could be one of those players where you just leave him till the end of the season. But I think it's a difficult one. If I was to take a punt on any of the players, I probably would say I'd maybe take a little bit more of a punt on Ahmed than maybe Alex Iwobi. But it's up to you guys. Which way do you think I'm probably going to go in the comment section? Let me know on that one. But I think Ahmed probably would be the one. Again, though, some very, very solid suggestions from all my experts in today's videos. Plenty of agreements from me as well. Some fine, fine suggestions for you guys to be going and taking a look at. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I will see you in the next one.